Welcome back to Minus 16, that podcast that you look forward to, where we talk about everything that's going on in the world of tech and, of course, the business of YouTube as well. So while Alex is sunning his beach body over in Brazil, you've got us two. It's me and Daniel. We're holding the ship down. Daniel, how you going, my friend?
Good. It's rainy here in Queensland on the Gold Coast, which is...
See, never think of you guys having rain. Never think of it. I just imagine it's eternal sunshine.
No, it's been onslaught probably for the last 6 to 8 weeks of maybe a few good days and then rain for the weekend. It ruins football, which I'm very upset about because there's no football all weekend. So we're just stuck inside with the kids again. So yeah, and anyway, how about you? How have you been?
Well, one of the truisms of our setup is because we change an hour, we're now an hour closer. Which makes things just that little bit easier for us, I think. Just that little bit easier, because the time difference is always, of course, your kids go to bed and stuff. Yeah, it's never going to be easy, but we make it work. It's good here. I've spent a load of time in the studio. I've got some nice panels I put up now. It's all looking very, very zen in here. Some amazing candles. Do you go, when you move and you get your studio space, you'll find it. You go through spells. I'm just really in love with this place at the moment. Really in love with coming in here. Every morning I step into it, it just feels like I want to do something, It's a real nice vibe.
Yeah, I'm counting down the days, 164 days until I think we can move in. So it's a lot to while.
Hours and minutes.
Yeah.
Before we get going, on this podcast, this episode, we're going to be talking about One UI 7 and some of the optimization problems that it's still having. We're going to be talking about some of the rumours for iPad and Mac OS that are coming along, iOS and iPadOS. And then also on the YouTube side of things, it's going to be, well, obviously YouTube's turned 20, and we're going to talk about when we started watching, what got us into it, the creators we were watching that we inspired us to want to do this as a job, and just give us a little bit of a walk down YouTube memory lane. I think that's the way we're going to be going with it. Does that sound a show and a plan to you, my friend?
Yeah, good for me.
Okay. And before we get going, I have just reskinned my website. And of interest to this, it's another place where people can watch and listen to the podcast. So talkingtechinaudio.com, your name is now mentioned in there. It's there. We're along with Alex. And our video is front page on the website now, so I will try and leave a link to it in the description and notes for this video, but it's worth taking a look at. It's got everything on there, and it's another place you can watch us. So shall we start off with One UI 7? I was watching your video during the week, and it sounds like they're catching up, and you kind of said it's like buses. You wait and wait and wait, and suddenly Samsung, because we've gathered this, whereas it's a fairly set schedule with Apple, with Samsung, they'll just throw updates at you suddenly, randomly, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, it's been a mess. Like, there's no other way really just to describe this whole rollout of One UI 7 other than it was a mess. I get why they've sort of delayed it, and I understand they wanted to sort of start from scratch and build a new OS with new animations, new fluidity, new interactions, something that has a bit of a different feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I haven't understood is just the lack of communication that they've sort of been putting out about it. It's been really drip fed. And that's kind of where the starting point for all the problems began. But then in my video, like, as I've been very busy, I've made a lot of videos in the last few weeks. What I noticed was that even though One UI 7 is kind of final now, like the beta stage is finished, on the latest flagship phone, the S25 Ultra, it's still not, I guess, performance-wise optimized compared to last year's phone, the S24 series. Like, there's a huge gaps in performance for key features like the audio eraser one.
Yeah, I saw that on your video.
Which launched on the S25. That was the launch feature of the new flagship.
Oh, that was the one of its flagship features. We've got audio eraser.
Audio eraser and log video was another one. Mm-hmm. And both of those perform better on the S24 Ultra. It exports the audio sort of file faster, or the final file faster. Same with log video. It exports the color corrected video faster on the older phone with the same clip, the same audio being removed, but somehow the older phone is quicker than it is on the newer phone.
Now, you obviously, as we know, you work. So any ideas why that could be? What, I mean, it's a software issue, I'm assuming, rather than a hardware issue.
Yeah, I think there's probably, because of the fact that One UI 7 on the S24 Ultra, the beta started in December, I feel like they had a lot more time to prepare that software update for the phone. And I also think the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy has its sort of optimum performance with their software. That's kind of my guess. is because they've got that lead-in
Right,
time
right.
with the phone being out for a year and almost a year and a half now. They have that time to really draw the most performance out of the chip. Whereas on the S25 Ultra, obviously
A
only
little
being
bit of
since
catch up stuff.
January.
Yeah.
But in saying that too, like it's not as if the phone launched in January and that was the first time Samsung ever would have worked on the software. They would have had this
Mm.
phone sort of from October last year, sort of being worked on and almost ready to go by that point, hardware wise. So it's not as if it's just jumped up out of nowhere. There's also a guess that I've got too that maybe there's more complex processing being done on the S25 series that might be doing a bit more to the file, but I didn't notice that in any of the output that I probably should have put in the video, but I just forgot.
A couple of points to lead on from there, actually. You mentioned about exporting a color corrected log file. So are you always color correcting the log before you export it then, or are you doing that in Premiere?
So it depends on how much time I have and
Right.
how I sort of feel in the moment. Most of the time, I will color correct it on the phone and then send it to the laptop as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
color correcting. I'm not perfect at color correcting yet manually. So like even with a LUT, I still
Mm-hmm.
can't quite get it the way I like, or I don't really know where I like. But when the Rec 709 color space that it adds, I'm like, well, that looks pretty good. So I just kind of leave it at that.
Then something else that we both got is Audio Eraser, and the Audio Fix kind of features on there. Now, have you ever used something like the Blackmagic app on your Samsungs for
The
video
camera
work or
app,
not? Yeah, yeah.
I've
Or
I've
or an external
tried
third party camera app at least.
the Black Magic one. I have looked at. I have never really used it though extensively. I've maybe shot a couple of clips just to try and fiddle with the settings, but I haven't dove
Okay,
deep
well,
enough
I
into
don't know if it's a
its.
question you'll know the answer or not, because it was really frustrating when Apple launched the Audio Fix suite on the iPhone 16s last year. They showed, it works. And if I'm just doing a video for a friend or something on the phone, and then you're out, yeah, you can make it sound good. But the annoying thing is that you can't use any of those features on a third-party camera app. Certainly not in Blackmagic. So once you've recorded that file, you can't fix the audio in any other app other than the native camera app, which means you can't record in log.
Oh, okay.
So
So
it's really frustrating. You can record in log, but of course it's a massive file. It's a no-brainer. You have to record it in the camera app. And
so I'm fairly certain the Blackmagic camera app on Samsung doesn't have log support yet.
right.
But I can answer sort of Samsung's version of log. If you record in log on Samsung and you haven't color corrected it,
Mm-hmm.
you can't use it in Audio Eraser.
Yeah.
It can't
So
read
it's like,
that file. So you have to
yeah,
correct the color first, export it, and then you can use Audio Eraser
yeah.
to correct the audio.
I mean, when those features work, I mean, obviously I haven't used a Samsung, but I'm assuming they're probably as good. They work really, really well. We've got something called In Frame and Studio, and it does. I mean, even when you're sitting in a park or something, and I've seen on your video the amount of background noise. And if okay, we do this to for a different reason a lot of the time than most people using their phones. But if you're out with the kids, with the family, and you're taking a video, the amount of background noise that these features get rid of now is insane, right?
Yeah, it's I think Samsung's do up to 6. It does
Mm,
like it's talking, it does wind, it does environment
yeah.
noise. There's just noise in general. Like there's a lot of music. It could
Hmm.
completely shut out music. Like if a song's playing, you can forget that song's gone. And I thought I like that one a lot, especially as a YouTuber. You know, we don't want to get copyrighted.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if I
yeah,
ever
yeah.
record something with a song in the background, but I need the audio, I can just
Yeah.
cut the music out, and I found that quite useful.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been using it more just for little, short videos I'm doing for myself rather than anything I'm posting up professionally on the channel. But it was just a crossover there between the two of us. So, when you were working at Samsung, then did you experience anything like the slow catch up that you're seeing now with One UI 7? Is that something that's happened before?
So the way it was always quite fractured. Samsung updates, just to sort of, I guess, go into that a little bit more
Mm,
deeply, is that the way their phones operate on a global scale is they all have different SKUs, so different product codes. So, like my one, for example, is the SM-S938B, and that B references the regions that it's being sold in. So that works for Europe, that works for Asia, but then in the US and in Korea, they've got different product codes. So it's SM S938N for Korea, which means it has a completely different sort of bandwidth for network support. So the software has to be sort of optimized differently for those phones. So whereas Apple, to my knowledge, they have one SKU and one product code for the like 16 Pro Max. There won't be multiple different versions of
Regional.
the 16
Yeah.
Pro Max in different regions. Hence why they have a bit more control when it comes to pushing updates out. Whereas
Right.
Samsung
Right.
have a bit more in-depth network testing that they need to do because they work with the carriers in each country to try and optimize it a bit better for the network. Like I think I might have mentioned stuff before, like in Australia, we have something called Blue Tick with our main carrier, Telstra. Blue Tick is regional coverage. And to pass regional coverage testing, you have to go through all of Telstra's lab tests specifically. So Samsung, with Australian firmware, has to optimize the software to the hardware to make sure it passes that test to get that blue tick. Whereas
Right.
Apple doesn't have,
Right.
I don't think any of Apple's iPhones actually pass the test because they have it too broadly applied on a global scale as opposed to being minuted down. So Samsung have to optimize it for those network testing. Then they pass the software update to the network, who then do further testing on their own networks with the software, and then the update gets pushed. And on a global
Right.
scale, that happens with every single network.
So there's a lot more hoops they've got to jump through to try and be simultaneous.
It's
Yeah,
their
see
own
what-
design it's their own design. They've done it to themselves. They could have gone the Apple path and given up that 1 or 2% network advantage, but they decided that that was important to them. And in some countries, the regional rural coverage is quite important, especially in Australia with how big the country is. But that's the path they've gone down. And that's what makes the updates process slightly more complex. That's why countries don't get the update all at the same time.
All at the same time.
Yeah.
Something actually, I touched on this kind of subject in my video this week. Now, I know you're every bit, well, probably more so Samsung through and through as I am Apple through and through. But have you, because Android obviously gets used on so many different phones, have you ever picked up, say, a Google, a Pixel, and used it and see how Android looks and feels on that? And your
outside of a shop, no.
Yeah. Because I wondered if that would be an interesting take for you, because it wouldn't be, obviously it's walking away from the Samsung alley that you're in, but because if you were to get a flagship Pixel just to see how Android's working on that I'm not trying to spend your money for you here, but I just wonder if it'd be a good comparison and how you as somebody that understands Android through and through and through, I wondered how two flagships like that would compare.
I think I'd get bored. And the reason why I'd get bored, I would, because just from my brief interactions with their software in the shopping centers, and obviously using your phone day to day is a completely different experience. But from the brief interaction, once you open up the app drawer and once you see where the apps are in the settings menu, that's it. The thing that I really love about Samsung is they've got Good Lock, which allows you to really dive deeper into nitty gritty customizations. And there's always hidden menu settings that you can always discover, whereas I just don't have that feeling with a standard Pixel. I'm sure the experience of just using it as a phone, fluid, and you probably experienced that for yourself with its OS.
Yeah. I had a Pixel for about a year, so I did have a bit of knowledge with it. Yeah, I mean,
no DeX, no desktop mode.
All the things that make Samsung good for you. Yeah.
Unique. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. One of the things every week when I look at your videos, one of the things and I don't know if this is the designer bit in me, it's the typography they use in all of the apps that you're showing, in all of the background. The white screen just looks lovely and soft. I look at it and I think that does look pretty. It really does. It just looks a nice kind of pleasing designer face to look at. And I know that's me being a complete and utter nerd, but it kind of matters. And but every time I look at it, it just looks attractive.
What I would encourage you to do is go look at a video of a Samsung phone from maybe 10 years ago.
Oh, really?
It's a mess. Absolute.
It looks really clean
disaster.
Now. It looks lovely.
Yeah, that was because I think the TouchWiz days, that's what the software used to be called, TouchWiz, was a disaster. The thing is, all the same features were there, but it was just laid out incredibly poorly. No user optimization, no fluid interactions. It just didn't encourage you to want to pick up your phone and use it. I think there was maybe one that did. The Galaxy S3 springs to mind as as that phone that had really nice sort of natural and pleasing aesthetics when you used it. But S4, S5, disaster. Yeah, if you have time, go check
Yeah,
it
okay.
out.
All right.
Uh, you'll
'Cause, yes,
see
when
how
you're,
far they've come from, right? And whereas iOS has kind of almost been the same pretty much from 10 years ago to now. Like there's no big shift in design and interaction. I think the only big
mm.
change was when they removed the home button. Whereas you can
Yeah.
see how drastic the difference is from where Samsung were to where they are.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you're in your settings, it just looks, to say, really appealing, and it just looks very easy to navigate, and it just appeals to me. I just sit there on a Sunday and look at it and think, that does look pretty. It just does. I mean, leading on, which you really neatly did there, into sort of the refreshes coming for iPhone, apparently the iOS this year is going to be the feature. And it looks, from everything we're gathering from rumours at the moment, they're going to be going very much Vision OS kind of route. So everything's going to this kind of frosted 3D lift to it. So so the icons are going to be sitting and coming out towards you. So it was almost as if Vision OS was the taste of the future. And they're just letting that percolate through now, even to Mac apparently as well. And a couple of features, you just mentioned Dex. It's not strictly Dex, I know, but a version of Stage Manager. If you've got an iPhone with a USB-C port on it, apparently that is a feature that's coming to iOS 19. So you'll be able to use Stage Manager as I'm doing right now. I've got an iPad sitting on a teleprompter looking at you. So I'd be able to do that with a phone. And also apparently a menu bar is coming to iPad OS 19 as well. So
like a Mac OS style menu bar.
yeah, I think the Mac is coming to iPad kind of thing. I think that's the look they're going to get. So it's not going to be Mac on iPad, but I think the whole design language is going to be very much Mac oriented, because apparently Mac's going to have quite a big overhaul this year as well, which is, I always download it virtually from day one. When I used to do radio, I didn't, because audio plugins were a nightmare for updates. They just were never ready. But now I don't rely on those so much. Most of what I do these are local, and it's using Apple apps. Let's face it, I live in Final Cut and whatever. And Adobe now is pretty quick with updates as well, so that's not so much of an issue. So I tend to update quickly, but it's always that, what it's like early on. You're a bit clunky. Things aren't quite the same. Where you're used to finding things isn't as it used to be. It always takes that a little bit. But it's all like, equally, the other side of that is when you sit down in front of a new OS, it looks exciting. It looks fun because it just looks, up to date and new and fresh. So I kind of like that take as well.
Yeah, I think with the first thought I have is when you talk about these new features, is that it's just almost like they're masking Apple Intelligence in a way.
Yeah.
Like they're needing something. I'm very curious to see how this Stage Manager on iPhone is going to work. Like,
yeah,
what mechanics are they going to have this happen? Like, is it just going to be when plugged into certain monitors? Like, are they going to allow it to be open to any display through HDMI and USB-C, or is it really going to be limited to plugging in?
I'm
to
assuming
Apple
Mac. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming it's going to be a purely a Mac thing. At the moment, obviously, I'm just doing it wirelessly from the Mac. So I start the session on the Mac, then I drag it over here onto the iPad, and that's. I use Stage Manager a few times during the week. Normally, the last part of the video before I export it, I look on the iPad because the screen's so good on there, and it also, as you know, it's just another screen to look at to check you're happy with it. So I kind of put it on Stage Manager and watch the file on there. So I use it a couple of times during the week. I probably underutilise, but every time I do use it, I think, Jesus, yeah, that's a really good feature. How useful it would be on an iPhone, in all honesty, because of the smaller screen, I don't know.
But is it just going to be when it's plugged in? Like the Stage Manager will project onto a monitor, as opposed to like the iPhone apps will be on a bigger screen in multi-window, or are they like, what's the idea behind
I'm
it?
assuming you'll be able to drag a session, as I can now, from a Mac to the iPhone. But the argument I've got there is, why would you want to drag from a bigger... I know, okay, I'm counterproductive here because I'm dragging from a bigger screen to something... But, this is still a 13-inch display. You can see everything on there. Why I'd want to drag something onto an iPhone and look at something that's on a Mac on there, I have no idea. I don't know if it's just a feature for feature's sake, or if I'm overlooking something obvious where it will be useful. I'm assuming it's going to be purely Mac OS to iPhone. I can't see it's going to be open.
So you don't think, because what Stage Manager, as I understand, is the iPad launches like you can have multiple apps open at once, right? Is that it? Or is Stage Manager something different altogether?
Yeah, Stage Manager is where you can have the tabs open down the side and so on. And yeah.
So when you plug an iPhone into a TV, what's the thought process behind Stage Manager there?
Yeah, I've used it on a display, and well, certainly with iPads, the Stage Manager, then I can have the iPad display and have separate Stage Manager open on another display. So it does open up more productivity space.
Do you need to
So
have the keyboard and case for that, or can you use a touchscreen on the iPad to control the monitor?
I was having to control when I did with the iPad Mini. I was controlling it via the touchscreen on the iPad. But with the
Had it-
iPad
had
Pro, then I could obviously use the mouse and drag it across because I've got the
Okay.
espresso display. So I've tried it
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the iPad Mini, and that worked pretty well on that with Stage when I tried to use that as a secondary display. And when I've used Stage Manager on the iPad Pro and the espresso display, again, that worked pretty well. And as you know, they've got a touchscreen display as well, Espresso. So you kind of double up on the feature sets of what you can do. But I just don't see, I don't know, Stage Manager iPhone, yeah, I don't know. I don't feel it at the moment.
If it's that limiting, yeah, I can understand why that would be kind of underwhelming.
Yeah.
Just speaking about Samsung Dex, I know that Dex has its detractors, but it creates a desktop environment on a bigger screen using your phone as the platform for it. So everything that's on your phone, you can launch in like windowed environments like a PC. Whereas a Stage Manager just feels like it's like you're siloed to like two apps.
So if you launch
each other.
Word on your phone and then Dex it to a monitor or to a computer, a desktop, you can then use the keyboard on your desktop to carry on typing in Word or whatever.
Yeah, so that's multi-control. That's a different feature.
Right.
Whereas Dex, you can take your phone and plug it into like my TV behind me or a portable monitor like the Espresso display.
Yeah.
And you can then access all the apps and files on your phone on the monitor.
Yeah.
Using a keyboard and mouse, and then you can, but it puts them all into windowed sort of apps,
Right?
Kind of like you would on like a Mac or a PC, where you can freeform the size of them and multitask to log with 5 or 6 different apps open at once in any sort of shape or form on the display.
Because I'm taking it, you use Dex quite regularly through the week, then, do you?
I use Dex. I've got a sponsored product. It's like a lap dock where you can plug the phone into the dock or into the. It's basically like a laptop shell with a keyboard and a trackpad,
right,
and a screen. And then I plug the phone into it, and then it projects Dex onto the screen. Then I can use the keyboard and mouse trackpad on the lap dock to control Dex, and then the phone just sits off to the side, and then I can type and interact with all the apps that my phone has on the big screen, and my phone screen stays separate. So then I can, have something different running on there.
So you could look at messages on there or whatever.
Yeah, I mean everything comes up on the screen anyway. But so I'm just curious to see what this iOS 19 Stage Manager iPhone will do.
I mean, I've turned Stage Manager off on the iPad. I find it quite messy. It doesn't really work for me. So how it's going to look on, I just can't picture it because Stage Manager, I use slide over or split view when I'm using the iPad. That's how I sort of increase the productivity on there. I don't get how the Stage Manager, I don't know what features they're bringing over. I don't see it, because it's that much of a smaller display. I don't know.
I can't see him doing it on the phone. I imagine it needs to be plugged into an external display for it to work. That's my thing that I see it doing.
Yeah, so I suppose you could then have Stage Manager open on the phone, put that onto a display, and then you've got your tiles that you can go and select your apps from.
Yeah, so that's how I see it working.
Yeah. So I'm guessing they'll be talking. And you're right. I mean, I think they are asking a lot to have such a major relaunch of various OSs all at one go. Such a major relaunch. But yes, equally, they've got to do something to try and dress the turd that's sitting in the room. And if they make a big enough hula about the new OS, then maybe that will be enough to quell down. Or what features are they actually going to come out and say, we will be having these Apple Intelligence features coming definitely with it? Because at the moment, they've left it so spurious saying within the next year. We don't know when that year starts. And we don't know what feature they're talking about. Intelligence Series still sound... Well, there's apparently been a whole load of personnel changes at Apple as well, because they are clearly very worried now about the state that it's in, and they're trying to get, I think, all of the big guys looking at it, but it's, from what we hear, still not ready for launch. So I don't know. They're going to have to do something. I mean, these class action lawsuits, well, they're going to be worth dollars in anyway, aren't they? If people get any money from them, it'd be more of a point to prove than anything else. And this week, Apple and Meta got slapped with big fines on the DMA over in Europe. EU's $570 million Apple got fined.
Chump change for them, though, really, is
0.1% of their annual turnover. 0.1%. Yeah. So, imagine, I mean, but
imagine if that was 1% of my annual turnover. I wouldn't be here.
I know the figures are kind. The figures are kind. When I was putting it, I did it for a short, and I was reading these figures: 570, 0.1%, not even 1%, 0.1%. It's that kind of, they have literally got it sitting in a bank. They can just pay it. 570 million. Poof, done.
And it's not. They won't be bothered by the verdict. They'll keep doing whatever it was.
Yeah, well, of course they're appealing it, and it's anti-competitive. Yeah. And the basic, what they got done for was, apparently they were saying,
I watched a short about it.
Yeah, so app developers were discouraged weren't allowed to tell their customers, you can go and buy this somewhere else cheaper with more benefits. That Apple only made it apparent that you could get it through the App Store. That's kind of what they banged to rights over. And I think Meta was something similar as well. So, and they're clearly going to be going after Google, because there's changes coming with Google as well, isn't there? They got done for some sort of monopolies thing. That Google's got Chrome and...
Yeah, and tells you, I think when you get Edge, or you have Edge, the first thing you do when you go to Google is download Chrome. And I have decided not to download Chrome. I still use Microsoft Edge as my browser, and
I'm on it now. Actually, I use it for Riverside, because Riverside only works on Chrome or on Edge, and I just found that for this particular app, I get a better result out of Edge.
Well, the thing with Edge is it's based off what Google Chrome's built on anyway. It's built on Chromium. It's built on the Chromium in the back end. It's just lighter and not as RAM intensive, so it actually works a bit faster and frees up your memory. So I'd much prefer it.
And while we're talking Google, let's switch lanes, shall we? Let's get into it's the 20th anniversary of YouTube.
That's crazy.
I know. It's been part of our life for what seems forever now, hasn't it? And when did you first... I don't know how to cover this best. When did it first come onto your radar? What made you first begin looking at YouTube and thinking?
I was in high school, which makes me sound, I guess you could say old, but I was. No, it doesn't. I can't say that around you, David. Sorry.
No. I mean,
that's ridiculous.
I was running companies when that started.
Yeah. I was, probably 15 or 16 when I first sort of obviously became aware of it. And it was like something that would spread through the school. Like every graphics class we had where there was computers, or if there was a classroom that had computers as part of it, you were just on YouTube and you were watching funny clips, and then you'd share it through the intra-school network with other people. And that's my earliest memory of the platform. It wasn't something that many people really understood. We kind of just went with it. And then obviously as it sort of grew, it just becomes a staple part. I'll just YouTube that. Like it's almost next to saying I'll Google that. I'll just YouTube it. So figure out how to do it.
Well, as we know, it's such a powerful search engine, isn't it? Such a powerful search engine. But I think I first got into it with music videos, funnily enough.
Music videos were a big one for me too. I think too.
Because I guess that was the killing of MTV to a degree, because obviously you had the MTV boom with Jackson making his, epic videos for MTV, and that bubble burst as YouTube came on, and then all the videos were there, and you could just, and even, obviously my background's really rare soul and jazz and things like that. Everything you want to watch is out there. Everything.
And people were just putting unofficial, like they were ripping it and then uploading it unofficially, or concert videos. Like if you went to a concert and you wanted to relive it, someone had uploaded it to YouTube that you can go and watch every song from that concert. I think the Coldplay concert, when they came out here in 2012, I went to it in Brisbane and it was amazing. And afterwards, like a couple months later, people had uploaded every single song they performed. And I was like, I can just relive this over again. I don't even have to. I recorded it myself, but that laptop died. So I lost all of it, but then it was on YouTube anyway. So I was like, sweet, I don't have to worry about it.
Fun fact, my daughter now works on the marketing for Coldplay for Warner Music. That's her biggest client.
Well, they were my favorite band for a
Well, there you go.
while.
She's working on them now. Yeah. So
Oh,
and Ed Sheeran is the other person she's working on. Anyway, side note.
oh, oh.
But there you go.
I'll
That's
pick
what she
those
does with
names
the
up
day.
for you. Hold on a minute. Put them back.
But
There we
with
go.
what I was kind of naughty with YouTube and music, and kind of not. So some of the radio shows I did were vaguely request based, and if somebody came on and had this rare track that I didn't have, I would go and rip it. The audio from YouTube and play it. The station was paying PRS, so I wasn't doing it kind of bad. The
Yeah,
only thing I
there
wasn't
was.
doing was actually owning the album. After that, I decided, no, I'm in this properly. I'm going to buy the vinyl. So I've got a massive vinyl collection at home
That's
now.
awesome.
Oh, it's. I've probably got about 500 albums.
But when you look at YouTube, the views on YouTube,
Mm,
the
mm,
all the biggest views come from music videos because
sure.
that was the early thing that YouTube did was
Yeah.
you could watch a music video anytime you wanted of any of your favorite songs and they just have millions and millions and billions of
Yeah. Yeah.
views,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
some of these videos. And it's crazy that I think for a while there was an issue where there was no copyright issue. Like you said, you just rip the track
Mm,
off a YouTube video and download it. Whereas you can't really do that so easily now, especially from the official YouTube pages. There's copyright protection in the back end that recognizes the link and stops it from being able to be downloaded. There's still ways, but yeah, there's just that's where all the views came from early days
mm,
was just
mm.
music videos.
So the videos you were watching at school and sharing out across with mates, were they music videos or were they just weird random clips of?
There was a bit of both. I think the random clips probably is what started that would share around,
Yeah.
but then I think music videos kind of took over. There was one that sort of went absolutely viral through Australian schools anyway. It was Trent from Punchy. It's
Right.
this it's just this guy. It was 17 years ago it got uploaded, which was my last year of school. Has 10 million views on YouTube. And it was
Oy,
just
oy,
this
oy.
guy. I just recently watched the podcast that he was on. He was a content creator or an actor living in a share house with his friends, and he had this character that he did. And one of them said, "Hey, let's just film it." So they filmed it and they put it on YouTube. And within probably a few days, everyone was sharing it because that's how YouTube videos spread back then. It wasn't so
Mm.
much the browse features. People would share it in emails,
Physically
they would
sharing it,
message
yeah.
it physically via the internet,
Yeah.
sharing it. And then, yeah, within probably a few weeks, every school in Australia had seen this Trent from Punchy clip and quoting it. Everyone was quoting it. You watch it, you won't understand a single word the guy's saying, but that if you want a bit of insight into my grade
Remember to send me
12,
the link. Put it on our Telegram, and I'll put the link for that video
yeah, I
in the
will.
notes. So we
I
can
will.
we can have a look at it because it sounds like
Yeah.
it is worth just for memory's sake. Going down memory lane sounds
Yes.
like it's worth it alone. So then, spinning things around. What point was it you decided, or who is it you're watching that made you think, you know what, I wouldn't mind a crack at this. I think I could probably do this.
There was I do know there was someone specifically that I was seeing, a couple of people that I'm like, oh, if they can do it, I can do this too. And
Mm-hmm.
they didn't really have. I didn't really take too much note of how many subscribers people had before I started. I was very much of if the video looks good, the thumbnail and the topic interests me, I'll just watch it. So I never really considered what people were on, how they started, how long they'd been on YouTube. But there was a couple of people that kind of blew up at the right time. And then when we went through COVID and I started recording videos for myself for our internal platform that we had, I was like, you know what?
At
I've seen,
Samsung, you still
yeah,
Samsung, then, were you? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
correct,
yeah, yeah,
correct.
yeah.
And I kind of was like, well, I can do this. Like, I have a different voice. I think it just came with the anger was mainly come out of watching the big dogs like MKBHD and Mr. Who's the Boss,
Yeah.
watching them miss things when it came to Samsung. And I would get very frustrated at their lack of information that they would put out. So whilst I got inspiration from the people maybe with, a couple of thousand subscribers that wasn't aware that was how low they were
Mm.
versus that inspiration and then tacking on the frustration of watching other people do things that weren't as good with information. I thought, well, I can do this. I'm very confident I can do this. So then I just started just out of sort of, it took, well, I guess you could say it took me there was a catalyst for me to start. It was wanting to leave where I was working because
Out
of
of the
the
corporate
working
world,
from home
yeah.
situation, out of the corporate world, but then also the fact that I was fixated that you needed to film in 4K. If you're a tech channel, you have to film in 4K, otherwise you're dead. So I was fixated on that, and none of the products I owned had a 4K. I mean, they were 4K, but there was no bokeh. And again, I was fixated on two things: 4K and
And
background
a
blur.
nice soft
So like
top. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that creates that appeal of your
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
aesthetic.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then the S23 Ultra launched with both of those features, 4K portrait video. I was like, well, you have no excuse. You can just
It's
start.
there. Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
that was
think
my sort of, I guess, journey was being frustrated, but also seeing that people was doing it. I was like, well, these people aren't even in tech. You're in tech. You can surely have the knowledge to do this. So I just started.
so. Oddly, then it sounds like we both got into the idea of tech YouTube through COVID or because of COVID and the lockdown. Because that's certainly what happened for me. I was still doing radio at the time, and I was really frustrated. There was no way to make any money or any kind of living out of radio. I was giving it 30 odd hours a week, and it was just, it was a passion project, and I was getting fed up with it. And then I was out doing one of those long walks during when we had COVID times, and I heard this phrase, content creators economy, and I thought, hello, that sounds interesting. And then I thought, so you can actually sort of maybe make a living doing this. And at the time I was watching Sam Cole, John Prosser, and also a channel called Everyday Dad. I haven't watched him in ages.
Oh yeah, I've watched some of his stuff.
And I was sort of watching those guys and thinking, this really interests me. And Luke Miani as well, I was watching him. And it was just kind of looking at those guys thinking, okay, well, they're talking about stuff I'm interested in. They help me understand more about the thing that I am interested in. Maybe it's worth looking at. And that was my lead into it. I hadn't really, before that, it'd purely be music and the odd how-to thing, when the heating doesn't work at home kind of thing, how to use your thermostat. That was kind of all I was using it for. And suddenly I found this whole world that was out there. And now I just live in YouTube, either watching podcasts, so much of the entertainment. The only time really I turn it off is live sport or movies. Other than that, I'm just in YouTube because it's got everything I want. At the moment I'm loving Lightroom, so I found a UK creator that I'm really into, and I'm just binging his content. I'm sitting there, doodling away as he's doing it on the iPad, trying to recreate what he's worked. I'm just loving it. It's such an engine for knowledge, isn't it? You can learn so much.
And be entertained. Free entertainment. You don't have to, you can switch it on at any time of day. There's always new content being uploaded to it. That's where it differs from a streaming platform, where the streaming platform like Netflix, you're so stuck in their release cycle of movies and TV shows that happen every 2 to 3 years. Like there's never daily content that gets uploaded that you must sit there and watch. And whilst it's more polished and the production value is obviously much higher because of the budgets and the fact they have sound stages to work on, YouTube, it's more raw and authentic, but the production value is increasing on content that you want to watch. Because we're moving into this house in October, my wife, we watch these Australian renovators called Three Birds.
Yep.
And they just started a YouTube channel years ago renovating their own house, and now they have a full-fledged business where they renovate other people's homes and then they make videos about it. And again, the production value is TV-worthy, and it's a YouTube video.
Yeah, I know. I mean, food channels now, I don't watch many food channels. When I watch food channels, their production values are just insane, and filming food is really hard. But then the values of so many of these channels now, I watch a few car channels, and again, there's just, when I realise what they're turning out, every single week, these guys are up and down the country finding these old cars, renovating, whatever. And just the work that's going into these things. And they look so good. Do you find that watching YouTube videos now that you make YouTube videos, you watch it with a different appreciation Totally.
for the creator?
Yes. Yeah.
Same.
I'm sitting there. I'm a right pain in the arse. It's like, I can see the affiliate link coming any second now. This is the sponsor drop. You can just, even it was something that was done really well the other day. I forget what it was. But anyway, it was done very, very well. But you know what it's like. You can just spot it a mile out. You can hear the change of tempo. And so I am looking at colour, audio. Oh, I like what he's done there. Transitions. Yeah, you do.
But I also have a different appreciation for the content ideas that people put out there. Like, especially, I think the one that I've really defended more than I probably anticipated I would have, especially in conversations with my wife, is lifestyle vloggers. I used to detest lifestyle vlogging. I would think, Why you just put the camera away and live your life? But then I've now come to the point where I realized, no, that's their job now. Like
Yeah.
they don't have money and income if they don't pick up the camera and film themselves buying a new car. Like they've made that their life, so they have to keep it up. As much as they
Yeah.
maybe don't want to do every little thing, they have no choice.
And
They've kind
also,
of got to always think of ways to live that is
yeah.
intriguing for an audience to watch.
And to that point, one of the things I love about YouTube, and when, you know, whether it's watching you, I think when you watch from somebody you know, it's even more personal. But it's also just that fact, I'm stepping into his life, into his room. I'm with him now for the next 15 minutes. And it's just that, I don't know, there's that, it's just something you feel you're in their life. So I'm certainly with a lifestyle vlog, it's probably even more because they're creating this beautiful lifestyle experience. And so you're sitting there with them in their kind of perfect world for 15 minutes or whatever. And it's just great escapism. And
the thing I'm really, I guess, getting frustrated by at the moment is there's a lot of takedown content where other YouTube creators are watching other YouTube creators and taking them down and picking holes in their videos. Like there's some that do
yeah,
things where like a lifestyle vlogger will do a day in my life and they'll show themselves getting up at 5 a.m. and pack my kids' school lunches with me. And they always go, look at the light outside. It's not 5 a.m. when they're getting up. They're clearly staging this. I'm like, obviously they're staging this because it's
yeah.
easier to film when you're having a production setup as opposed to filming rawly when you have the subscriber count that some of these do. So I get that there's frustration. This isn't authentic, but maybe it's an authentic recreation of what they're doing and they're just recreating it for the purposes of camera. So I don't know. Sometimes I think too granular about that now. Whereas before, I just would have watched it and gone, "Oh yeah, what fakers? How dare they fake that?" Whereas now I'm just like, you got to appreciate the fact that maybe they're trying to condense all their day in the life into a couple of hours so they can live the rest of their day. I don't know. Just
And the other, I know you'll tap into this. It's when you watch really good creativity. So this week there was a new 360 Insta 360 camera launch. I began seeing the notifications drop. That night I went home, watched Casey, and my absolute love of the moment, Peter McKinnon. He can do no wrong in my eyes. I just love the guy's create. But to see those two guys, how differently they went about, both brilliant videos. Peter went off to some rodeo and was out in a desert, you know, beautiful amber sunlights and typical McKinnon kind of filming, but it looked good. Casey, of course, New York City. I mean, that guy must have done so much for New York City's tourism industry. But just seeing the editing that Casey does is insane. And you're sitting there. There was one simple clip. If you watch it, he's down on the street holding the stick out and suddenly he's in the window. And it looks so simple. But it was a really tricky transition. You realise, and he's a lot of time working alone. And you just sit there sometimes, you look at this creativity and it inspires you. It either makes you feel impotent. I just spent the day editing. And then you get back and think, shit, that's really boring compared to what these guys are doing. But it's equally as inspiring, isn't it? Because you look at it and think, okay, well, that's doable. If I just think in a different way, I can do that.
But you see, I think too, like if you applied that same thought process that these takedown YouTubers have of, you know, reducing other people's content, they might watch Casey and go, oh, that's not, he doesn't really go live his life around New York with that. He's just doing this so he can film the Insta 360. Yeah, of course he is. Because
it's a
probably
show.
It's a show. Like he's like, I went to Movie World with Alberto for one of my videos for a camera comparison.
Yeah.
Took my son to Movie World. And it's like, oh, someone would have gone, oh, you're just taking him to Movie World so you can get your camera comparison. I'm like, well, yes, like that is definitely a part of it, but the byproduct is I get to spend time with my son at a theme park. So like, yeah, I probably maybe wouldn't have gone if I didn't have that to do. I maybe would have taken him somewhere else. But I'm like, you know what? Movie World's a great setting. Let's go there and we can both get something out of it. I don't know. That's probably we sound like a shit dad, but
people. If people are dunking on creators, there's other things to be doing with your life. You know, we
right.
all work hard.
So many other things you could be doing. And
equally, just spend a moment in. I'm not saying what we do is incredibly hard, but equally, coming up with a different video, different theme every week, it's got its edge to it where it's not as easy as it looks. We love what we do. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else, but equally, rather than say just shitting on us because you think we come up with a bad title or something, just think a little bit broader or just watch something else. You know?
There's a reason why not everyone does it. Like,
yeah, exactly.
There's a reason.
That.
Well, everyone can try it, and people have tried, but there's also a reason why not everyone is successful
Sticks
at
at
it.
it. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Not everyone can grow. Like I
Yeah,
think I took a look at your subscriber count every time a new video comes up, and you're over 16,000
yeah,
now.
nearly 17. Yeah, approaching
I'm like,
17.
what? That is an awesome achievement in the Apple technology landscape for you to have that sort of growth. Because I think when I started, you're on 2,000,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
just a
yeah,
tick over two,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
and
right.
you were stuck at that for a
I
while,
was.
right?
I didn't find what I needed to do, and suddenly everything
Yeah.
just started to drop for me. I just if I just don't do that, but do that and do this, and it's all through sitting and learning. I'm not big into sitting looking at my analytics. I do a bit, but not. But it's more watching other people. And it was, I've told you this before, and it's not blowing smoke up your ass. It was your passion for Samsung that kind of reignited what I needed to do. Stop dicking about with other things. Go in one lane. I like what I use. Let's just enjoy what I use. And if people want a tiny bit of validation for the fact they've just gone and spent £1,000 on a phone and can watch my video and feel good about themselves, great. If I happen to like using it and I can share a bit of that pleasure with them, and once you find that, and that's what comes through in your videos by the bucket load, it's just that to your dying day, you love using Samsung devices. You love what they bring to you, and that passion comes through.
It's a
That's
very
why you're
consistent.
unscripted.
It's a very consistent viewer experience. Like
Yeah,
they know what they're getting from you. They are happy with it. There's a core audience that will watch every single video that you put up. Hopefully I keep growing that core audience. And we both do, so we can, make sure that we put a video out that with us just holding the phone as the thumbnail, that we get 2 million views. That'd be nice.
I did actually. I came up because I put a video up this week about the 16E, and I think the creator you're speaking of there, without being guilty of what we're just talking about, dunking on other people, but it was just literally holding the 16E. And I thought, okay, I've just spent 4 hours creating that thumbnail, but never mind. Never mind. One interesting little thing that I heard YouTube apparently are thinking of trialing. I kind of see where they're going, but I think they're going too far. Apparently, they're going to take view counts off of the thumbnails. Which apparently it's being beta tested, but that I kind of agree with. But they're also taking titles off.
I can see
it's a step too far.
It's not on shorts. Like, when you go on your home feed and there's shorts there.
Oh, the views usually
you can see the views for the shorts there, but I can't see them at least right now.
So maybe they're trying something then, because I heard something I was reading on YouTube's channel. Yeah, they're trying this idea. The idea of view count I get, because sometimes you and I could have a really nice looking video up there as a thumbnail, but if it's only in its early few hours and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 500 views or whatever, people are going to be, I know I'm guilty of that sometimes, thinking, shall I watch it? And that's wrong, because we know there are other creators just like us, our size, doing everything themselves. And there's this Lightroom guy I found, for instance, his views aren't necessarily massive, although he's a fairly big channel, but his content is really good. So I'm glad that I just decided to click in. So I can see the idea behind possibly taking a view count off, but taking the title off, that's brutal. Because then everything about your packaging's got to be in that thumbnail.
Yeah, that is a bit brutal. Although the last couple of weeks, I've really noticed like an uprising in my browse feed anyway, of AI generated tech videos. And when I click on it, like the thumbnail looks good, the title looks good, and I click on it and it's just an AI voiceover with constantly changing clips of other people's videos.
Yeah.
And I spotted one of my own, not my Tech with Benefits, but one of my Sam Mobile videos as part of the compilation of this video talking about One UI 8. And it was just, but the thing is, the clips change so quickly that there's probably no chance of copyright getting picked up on, that your video is getting caught up in that, because they literally just within matter of probably 1 or 2 seconds are changing to the next clip and then repeating the clip. It's almost like it just repeats on a cycle. And I don't know how they can combat that. I don't know whether removing titles from the thumbnails might be a part of it, but it's very, very frustrating. And there was even an AI generated podcast where they used Dr.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Dr. Mike, the American
I've heard.
guy?
I don't know, seen him. I've certainly heard of him. Yeah.
They used his face on a thumbnail, and it said Dr. Mike reacts, and it's just two AI generated people talking to each other in an AI generated voice with AI generated backgrounds. Like, it looks very realistic, but it's a podcast generated by AI. and then they're trying to just put that on a channel.
I know exactly. The minute I click onto something and find it's an AI voice, I'm just bored.
Off it straight away. Oh, straight away I'm off it. Because
I cannot click off soon enough. It bores me.
And I know
I
that
want
there's
somebody's
a lot
personality. You know, that's what I want.
Yeah. There's a lot of YouTube bros on Twitter that sit there and say, oh, here's how you can develop automated AI channels and make thousands of dollars a month. And I go, they're all shit. Like all of them are just absolute garbage. Like there is no art to it and there's no value to it. Like it's not providing anyone with any value because the script is AI generated, the thumbnail is AI generated, and all the clips are AI generated, or at least AI composed.
Yeah.
Like what a waste of everyone's time. Like, no one is enjoying this. But they spam they upload like every hour there's a new video going up with the same title that's trending from someone else. And some of them get a few thousand views and engaged comments. Like, this is absurd. This is absurd. I hate it. I hate everything about it.
Yeah. I'm sure, I don't know, breaking it down, your favourite part of the week, I think the least favourite part of my week is actually sitting and recording the A-roll, because by that time I already know what I'm doing. I think the fun for me comes in the editing of making it come to life, what B-roll I'm using. And once I know I've got the story told, the actual recording bit and sitting in front of a camera looking at yourself, I find it a little bit tedious. But I love that creative side that comes just before it when you're planning it and just after it when you're editing it. I really enjoy those parts of the week.
I think the editing makes it together. Like if I record an A-roll and I've messed something up or it seems a little bit all over the place with how I'm talking, I can bring that together in an edit and actually make it seem like it seamlessly flows. Whereas, excuse me,
Daniel's dying. I'm going to fill space while he just tries to live for it. Are we good?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, A-roll, I do enjoy talking. The A-roll's quite fun. I think, though, I'm starting to, like, not get dread, but I hate the space that I have. That space I've got is just, it's not very creative. Outgrown it heaps. And, like, my wife even says it too. She goes, when you move into this own studio space, your content's just going to become more cinematic. You'll be able to have the freedom to do more, and then you hopefully bring in more sponsors. They might be attracted. So there's a lot riding on this move because I hate my editing space. Like I've somehow made it a permanent standing desk and I hate it. I'm like, I just want the option to sit down. But the only way I can sit down is if I unplug my laptop and take it into the dining room. Then I can have the option to sit down. But other than that, it's
moving into here was one of the best things I did. You know, it's given me some. And
looks a good space.
And moving in, as I said right at the beginning of this episode, just coming in here every day at the moment just feels so lovely. I just want to do stuff in here, you know. I can work from home. I try not to because it's a 15-minute drive and I'm in my own space. I'm sitting upstairs above another company. I shut the door. I'm just in my own space and I can do what I want. I've got sash windows that I can open up. I get some nice air coming through, you know. Yeah, it's a shitty high street out there. I forgot I'm not painting a picture of a perfect YouTuber's world. It is a shitty hospital, and I've got a hospital just up there, so I've got ambulances screaming past every few minutes with the blues on. But, yeah, the amount of retakes I've had to do with that, as you can imagine, in a really good flow and suddenly... But, so the sooner you move, I can feel your pain. You need it. And
it is at home, but it'll be my own. I can lock the door.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can have everything. I can leave the camera set up. I don't have to constantly take down the light and take down the tripods. Everything can just stay where it is.
Look at Kyle that we had on a few weeks back. Of course, he's at home, but he's got a permanent studio set up at home. They work really well as long as you've got that dedicated space. Because that's the great thing. I can leave all my key lights here, just walk in, sit down, work. And if I haven't finished shooting a thumbnail, I can leave it all set the night before, everything in one place, walk in, carry on working. It makes such a big difference. And before we wrap, I just must say thank you. You said, look at lenses. I looked at lenses. I spent on lenses.
And now you're looking at a lens right now.
I am looking at the lens right now, yeah. My glorious... There'll be a very creative, farty photo that I'll put up sometime this weekend of the Canon with this new lens on. So I got myself a proper 24mm lens, f1.4, and RF mount, and it's just made such a difference. There's so much more light in there, there's better colour in there. just the weight of the lens itself, and it's bought that camera body. I was speaking to the company I bought it from. It's a second-hand lens. Interestingly, although Alex, I know, did do me a great deal on buying that Canon from him, I've spent as much on the lens as I did on the camera. So it's all in the glass, as we know, which is not unusual, because you recently bought some new lenses as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I wouldn't, maybe not recent. I started with I knew immediately that the kit lens on the first camera I bought wasn't going to be enough, so I got the a Sigma 16 millimeter f1.4 crop lens, because it's a crop camera that I have, not a full frame.
Yeah, same.
It's I think it's equivalent to a 23 when you get it in 16. And I knew straight away that I needed that. And this is the lens I'm on now. And yeah,
that's the Sigma lens on now. Yeah,
it just creates this beautiful natural depth of field. I have an ND filter over it at the moment, so I can get the f1.4. I know you said it might look a bit too soft on yours, but I really like the softness. I just think it
well, that at the moment
a bit better.
That's 1.6 I'm on at the moment. I've had to crank the ISO down because it was obviously quite, because I was using a 24mm lens, but it was just a pancake kit lens. And the difference, it's 24mm. Yeah, they're not the same lenses. They are not the same. And just see how much more my body's in shot now, just because it's a bigger, everything about it. And when I set it down to 1.4, and it's like, well, okay, that's almost floaty blurry, because it's not the biggest of studio space I'm in. But I'm loving it. I can tell this is going to be the start of an expensive odyssey.
Yeah, I think the next one I'm looking at getting is a longer range telephoto one. I have a 16
What would you use that for then?
Well, probably outdoor when I go, and probably more to do with football, my son's sport.
I was going to say, rather than your channel.
I'll probably use that for videos of filming football, but it's not as if it won't be, like, especially if I move into this new place. I do see it coming in handy if I wanted to try and create like a bit of a over the shoulder shot and have me not sort of be in the way a bit more. Like I can sort of set it back a little bit and then zoom to the right level, as opposed to having it too close. So there will be things that I will potentially use it for, but the lens that I want, I think, is about $1,200. It's a Sony one. It's like 50 to 130 or something along those lines, and it's f2.8. So it's up there. Like, again, that's as expensive as the cameras that I've got. So I'm like, well, but it's where it transforms the capturing experience. The sensor's good enough on this camera. I don't really need another camera. Like, I think I'm set with the two cameras I have.
Well, I said to the company before buying it, I said, am I wasting money? Am I spending good money on an old camera board? And they said, no, that 90D is actually still a pretty higher of the mid-range end of cameras, is the way they kind of put it. And they could have quite happily sat there and sold me a new camera body. And they said, no, honestly, that's probably good enough. This lens will increase its use, and sure enough, it has. I've made a couple of shorts on it now. This week's video was shot on it. Now I'm shooting this podcast, and I was looking forward to today, just sitting here and nerding and using the lens. But I'm so happy with it, so happy.
I love when a plan comes together.
When it turned up and I screwed it on and it just looked so good, I was like, yes. So that was all thanks to us sitting on our last podcast. You said lenses. Next,
it'll be me maybe getting a Mac or something. Who knows?
We know it's going to happen at some point. That little Mac Mini's got your name written all over it.
I had an internet issue. My laptop, for some reason, when my laptop was connected to Wi-Fi, every other device in my house, the internet wouldn't work. It just stopped working.
Right.
And I don't know what it was. I turned the Wi-Fi off and everything else came back on. And it was the laptop causing it. Oh, and then I closed all the apps that are on there. It was like uploading to OneDrive. I closed that down, and all of a sudden everything started working. But it was a frustrating 2 hours. And in that 2 hours, I was frantically searching M1 Max MacBook Pro. What's that? M4 Pro Mac Mini. What do we got?
Where we're at, Oh, and we were talking creators a minute ago, and people that are just really bloody brilliant at what they do. Samuel.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, both Samuel Nam and Sam Beckman.
Yeah.
Two Aussies named Sam.
Yeah.
But Samuel Nam he's just got this unique way
craziness
of showing things off, doesn't he? And he's not tech-based. It's not specky. It's just pure comedy and lifestyle.
It's
just how he lives.
A lush amount of disorganization and randomness going on in his brain that just comes through. It's so compelling to watch. So compelling. He's got that Casey quality to him, if you ask me. He's just got that kind of, you click him. Even though I couldn't give a toss about the Meta glasses he was wearing, it was just fun to watch it. It was just fun. And that's what it should all be about, right? If you can make that kind of content, you're on a winning. That guy's a genius. You idiots.
He involves his family to a really good, like, it's a good healthy level. Like, he doesn't over involve his kids.
No,
but,
well,
you know, you can tell he's a proud
wife
dad.
is now a character, isn't he? Wife is now a character in his video.
Wife is a character. And he can put that in a thumbnail. And
wife doesn't let me have it. Yeah.
Right. That's part of his whole allure. And the comedy that they have together is really
brilliant.
Good. So I'm actually, hopefully I get to see him next week. I'm going to Sydney for a Samsung event.
For me.
For a Samsung event on Tuesday. I
did interact with him on Twitter yesterday because he put up a picture saying, have you noticed that other people are using phones, anybody using anything other than an iPhone in this airport? Everyone's using iPhones. I just wrote, what? There are phones that aren't iPhones? And he just immediately but he's sitting there. So we have had a little comment between the two of us. But he's a genius, that guy. So do say hello to him for me if you catch up with him next week. Good man. Right, we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time then. Hopefully it's stopped raining for you. Hopefully the kids aren't driving you mad playing indoors all day long.
Still no Alex probably, though. He'll be in Brazil. I don't know where he's going to be with it. Can you imagine the suntan he's going to have when he comes back? He's going to be... I'm going to feel so bloody pale, aren't I? Yeah, I mean, if you look at... This is pure Italian olive skin right here.
Yeah, well... I've got no Italian blood in me at all, so I don't stand a chance. Anyway, it's been great catching up. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Thank you for all of the comments and subscribing, and it really does make a difference to us. Just so keep the love going, and we'll keep the content coming. Daniel?
See you guys.
2 weeks' time, mate. Yeah.
See you, mate.
See you, bye.